this issues of codes and exporting exhibit lists. Before I get here to our course outline and what we're going to cover, I want to go down to our question and answer area, because there were a lot of really good questions that were asked last time, and I put the answers down here, the Q&A. So this is where you'll go. The questions that were asked were basically, do issue codes print in color, for example? And I gave a sample of what the issue code printouts look like. And obviously the issue coded text does not show the color, but above that section of the transcript, you see the various issue codes that were designated for that particular portion of the wording. So you can read this over after the session today. And then also when you print out documents with highlights, do they print out? And this is the printout options when you go to print out, you know, the different pieces of and parts of your exhibits, your transcripts. It gives you a chance to print out with markups, print highlights as redactions if you want to, print with watermarks and so on. So these are your printout options. And then also it was asked when you're in presentation mode, I was hitting escape to make everything disappear. Is there a way to make annotations you have made disappear with one click, but leaving the clean document on display? And here are the hotkeys that you use when you're in presentation mode. And the one that you're asking about is this one here. This is where it will the Alt plus the F9 key will show the annotations or hide them, but keep the document up on the screen. And then also a question was, instead of scrolling through pages using the mouse in a multi-page document when you're in presentation mode, could you go, say, for example, to page 53 directly? And the answer is yes. When you're in presentation mode, you press the dash PG and then 001 or dash PG 999 or dash PG 053, and that would take you to the page number. So that's a quick way of jumping around in a multi-page document when you're in presentation mode. And then our snapshots automatically save so we can access them later, or do we need to save them if we want to access them later? And then the way to create a snapshot, Alt-S, is a hotkey. And then this description here tells you how to get back to them and bring them up when you want to, you know, show them or print them or whatever. So here's the description, lengthy description, how you go about that. And then does the log, presentation log, do every day, or is it for the entire trial? And here's an example of the log, and you can see it's just a brief one, but it tells you what the exhibit number was, what time and date you presented it, and in the sequence that you presented. And so even though it's just for the day, you can concatenate these presentations, and so you have the whole trial, because they're basically a text file that you can print out. And this is a screenshot below how to go about accessing the presentation log. And this is where you want to log the presentation events for the trial, select the path for the log file, and then go ahead and it'll log all the events for that day. And then to view the log, you click here. And as I say, they're basically, it's just a text file, so you can concatenate those together, put them together in one long file if you want to. And then the question was asked, why do you opt not to use a dual screen? And I kind of briefly answered that, but I put a little bit more of an answer in there as well for you to get an idea of why sometimes it's not a good idea to use the dual screens. When it is correct to use it, I do use it as well. And then this talks to you more about how to set that up and so on. So anyway, this is the place where you go back up here. You can see in the Q&A section over here, Q&A from April 24th. If we get some questions today like this, and I don't get a chance to answer in the great detail that I'd like to because of time parameters, I will immediately after the presentation put the answers in here. So it'll be a Q&A from today's date, which is April 26th. You'll see it listed in all the Q&A subpages over here. So keep an eye on that for future reference. Okay, so let's go to our session for today. Issue codes and exporting exhibit lists. I did a little bit of this last session. I want to get into it a little bit more in depth. What are issue codes, what they're used for, classifying documents as being relevant to one or more of the case issues. And the case issues are the things about the case that need to be proved during the litigation, or that you think need to be proved. And so we're going to see some PowerPoints here. One is creating and assigning issue codes and generating reports. There's a PowerPoint here, and I'll get into this a little bit more depth than from last week. Exporting exhibit lists to Microsoft Word. There's a PowerPoint here for that. Adding transcripts and coding testimony. We're going to see how we can go about doing that with a PowerPoint. And then printing exhibits and information to OneNote notebooks. OneNote is an application that almost everybody has on their Windows computers. It comes along with the Microsoft Office suite. So if you have Word, Excel, and so on, you've got OneNote on your computer. You may not have used it. I want to show a little bit of how this works really well in integration with trialdirector, especially to export information to it. And then exporting transcripts, clips to PowerPoint. I did a little bit of demo of that last time, but I want to get into why you'd want to do that and the really neat things you can do once you get the transcript clips with the synchronized text into a PowerPoint, how you can go about that. And then I doubt if I'll get to this one, but I put a link here. It's pretty simple. Exporting transcript clips to MPEG video files. There's a little video here linked you can click on. It'll take you out there. So after the session, if you want to spend a few minutes, just look at that video. If I don't get to it, you'll be able to see the process for doing that as well. So I'm going to come down here. I've got a number of PowerPoints ready to go. I want to look at exporting exhibit lists to Word. So I'm going to bring this one up first from the current slide. So there, sometimes when you want to just export all of the exhibits that you've presented into a Word document so that you can maybe create an extra column of data to the column, the table that's created in Word. It does not support WordPerfect. So if you're WordPerfect, you can't do it directly into WordPerfect, but you can go directly into Word. The way you go about this is you go in there and you select what the items are that, the exhibits that you want to have a table about. So you go in through your Case Explorer, your case library, and you pick the items that you want in this exhibit list. And then you go up to File, and when you see the Send Exhibit List to Microsoft Word, and you're going to basically click on there to start this procedure. And then it's going to come up and give you a pop-out menu over here on the right, whether you want to do trial exhibits or just about any kind of exhibits that you've check marked. You can pick those, and then it's going to create a listing of them. Trial exhibits have to do with those that you actually have presented in court, or that you plan to. And so you can click there, and then this is the Word document that's generated. As you can see, it has the trial exhibit numbers that were assigned in your trial exhibit database. Gives you a little description of what that exhibit was all about, based on your categorizing of these and your description memos that you put in there for these various exhibits. Gives you your document IDs over here on the right, along with a little description if you don't have a document ID. So like say, for example, some video footage or something like that. And then you can, since you're in Word, you can go up to the table format, and you can go to Insert, and you can insert a column to the left or wherever you want, or rows in this table to add more information to your exhibit list. So if we click there, we can then insert column over here to the left, the blank column, and then we can put a title above that, admitted time or date, type that in above, and then you could put that information in next to the trial exhibits to keep track of when, if you have actually, presented these in trial. Some of these may not have been presented, or you may decide not to, but it gives you a neat way of keeping track of that in a regular Word document. Basically, the benefits are easily provides a current exhibit list to the trial team. It's editable within Word, and it includes the description, the trial exhibit numbers, and the doc IDs. So what if you need the data in a different format other than Word? Well, once you have it in Word, you can save the document, as a PDF file. You could also save it as a Word document if you have, say Word Perfect document. I think the newer versions of most of Word will let you save it out as a document format that WordPerfect will open. And actually, I think the newer versions of WordPerfect, if you're still using that product, will enable you to open up Word documents as well. And once in Word, you can also print the file into a OneNote notebook, a digital notebook that I'll be talking about as we go along. So that is that particular PowerPoint. And then I wanted to also deal with this issue here, exporting clips to PowerPoint video clips. And let's take a look at this one. I did this a little bit last week. I showed you how to go about it. I want to show you how you can make use of this procedure and the resulting product as well. So basically, a little review here. We have our clip option. So we're down in Transcript Manager. We clicked on that. We have a list of all the different video clips that we made when we were in the Transcript Manager tab, and we highlighted some of the text, and then we told it to create a clip, and it sent it over in this clip list that we have. So what you do is you come over here, and you're going to pick the clips that you want to export into PowerPoint. And then once you choose the clips, you can click on more than one by holding on the Control key and click on a sequence of them, or some that are disparate, not contiguous. And then you can pick your export. And then you can export the clips, the selected ones, or all the clips if you want to, into PowerPoint or into other files. But you pick export the selected clips. In this case, pick next. And then you have a chance to export the clips to a Windows folder somewhere on your computer system. The video that I told you about back on our web page will show you how to go about doing this and why you might want to. There's a click for that video to show you that. And basically that enables you to have these video clips available for review. You could also attach them to an email recipient, somebody who wants to look over the video clip of the deposition to discuss it with them. So these are various things, and when putting them into the Windows folders as MP4 files will allow you then to, with the, will be with the synchronized text as well. There's some synchronized text that you files you put with them, so they can be played. You could put them on a DVD or USB stick and play them at a group meeting when you're discussing these, without having to have trial director, present, just to kind of review for the trial or discuss these video clips, or email to recipient. The problem with emailing can be that these video clips can get fairly large, and your email system might be limited to sending certain size files. So you'd have to have some kind of a shared drive on a sort of an intranet setup, or extranet if you're having clients come in and look at these. But then this way here is what we're going to proceed with again. And you pick out where you want the PowerPoint to be generated. And so you can browse out to that location. You pick the sort of the design of the PowerPoint show here with whatever these options are. and you pick next, and then you optionally can select a video transition for the exported clips, so it does a little fade between the clips, which is a good idea. And then it'll show you the clip progress when you pick export, tells you when it's completed, and so on. So what I did is go into trialdirector earlier. I chose them. Again, I went up to the transcripts, and you can go ahead and you can export the transcripts to these options here as well, or you can export them like I did for trialdirector. So you can choose whichever way you want to export these. But I think it's important when you do the export of these files to PowerPoint to realize the value of doing it. So what I did is I went through and exported some of these because I knew it would take a little while to this particular PowerPoint here. And after I exported them, what I did, I'll play this through so you can see it, and then I'll come back and discuss it. I'm going to play this slideshow for you with the exported clips in it.
Conversations that we had a couple weeks ago, I have this major question of divide and conquer strategy. So I don't know that you thought I got first. I don't really know what you thought, to be honest with you. And if you want me to tell you what you thought about whether I'm adverse, I don't know. That wasn't the question you asked. You asked whether I knew that you thought I was adverse, and the answer is I don't know what you thought. I'm not a part of this case, I'm no longer an attorney, so I don't know if I'm adverse or not. I'm not adverse to anybody at this point, and nor would my testimony be affected in any way. My job is to come here as any witness should in response to the question that I posed, and it's peaceful and my thoughts. I don't know what overlay you want to put on it, adverse, not adverse, whatever. I'm just here to answer your questions. It serves a keen on me, but nonetheless, I voluntarily appeared. And let's get your questions, and I'll try and answer them as best as I can.
So basically, I am going to show you, I've got this in PowerPoint, and they're talking about this particular exhibit that I copied and pasted into PowerPoint next to the testimony. And I can use PowerPoint's magnify tool to come in here and take a look at this particular document that the witness is talking about, and hit escape to come back out of it. So you can see when I click on the magnify glass, it stops the testimony, gives me a chance to go ahead and zoom in on the particular exhibit and talk about it. And then I can hit the escape key on my keyboard, and I'm in PowerPoint. And so it gives me a chance to do some commentary, zooming in on the exhibit as well. And if I go back in the slideshow to other locations, I'm going to just come out of there and show you. When the advantage of putting the these video transcripts into PowerPoint is you can add these like text boxes over to the right. You can also add images that are related to the testimony, or make people think about what's going on over here in the discussion. You can copy and paste exhibits right onto the slide, and like I said, zoom in on them and create an animation. on this one here, I created a little animation that brought the exhibit in. Now you can do all of this in presentation mode as well in PowerPoint, I mean in trialdirector. But let us say, and the reason why I'm showing you this is there have been times when especially in certain cases, we wanted to go over what we're going to be presenting in trialdirector, but we didn't really want to use trialdirector at that point. We wanted to just practice, show what we could put into the presentation mode, whether we wanted to do that or not, and not go through all of that in the presentation mode. And so it's a neat way of doing it. Another reason is that you may have a case in which you decide not to use actual trialdirector in the presentations. You might find it easier just to use PowerPoint and use trialdirector to compile these video clips into a PowerPoint, and then use your exhibits and annotations that you want to put in there in the PowerPoint slideshow. So it's just something I thought would be important to show you that is doable, and just pick whichever clips you decide you want to put in there, and then you export these per the exporting option that I showed you here, and you'll get a chance to use that PowerPoint slideshow to present your information as well. So that was another thing I wanted to talk to you about. And now I wanted to get into also the issue codes. Again, go into that a little bit more in this session. So how to add issue codes to evidence in trialdirector. We did a little bit of that last session. I want to talk some more about it today. So first thing, if you're going to be doing issue codes and a transcript, you want to make sure you're in the transcript manager tab down below instead of the case library and so on. And so you click on there. And then the issue codes, as we talked about, allow you to flag important testimony so you can easily recall it during trial. And you can also then print the reports similar to deposition digests. So go ahead and continue on here. The first thing that you probably want to do before you start, highlighting information and doing issue code is manage your issue code list. And so let's go there again. And in the issue code manager that you have, you're able to double click on any blank issue code that you see showing up there, and then you can go ahead and type in a new issue code. Loss of use is what's being typed in over here, and you can assign these to the various function keys that you have on your keyboard, so that you don't have to right button click on the text and then pick the issue code with your mouse button. You can just press the function key that will apply the various issue codes. So, and you can click on this little button here, and that will pop down all the various function keys you have available to assign to the various issue codes that you create in the case. This little, and you change the color here as well. Remember, we talked about not assigning a color that's dark because it could cover over the testimony itself, which it would not be a good idea. So, and then you click your exit button to save your changes, and then you're ready to go ahead and assign issue codes by selecting, the desired text in the transcript that you want to assign the code to. So here we selected this piece of the testimony, and then we can right button click, and this menu will come up, and we can pick the issue code annotated selected text option here. Or if we knew the function key for the issue code, we could just press that function key and it would assign it to that particular piece of text. Here we're going to select the appropriate issue code and pick consequential damages and apply it. to the text. Or contributory negligence, we could pick that and apply it to the text. And then you'll see the highlight will appear after you click apply on the transcript itself. So the assigned issue codes do appear over here on the left. Contributory negligence, consequential damages, shows you the page and reference numbers, as we talked about. And then you can print a report, and this is what we talked about last time a little bit, print a report showing all the issue codes assigned in the case. And that's where the question came up as whether these colors would show up on the transcripts. But instead of that, what happens when you pick the print command, you get into, you can pick the issue code summary or the details, which we'll pick here, and then continue on. And now you can choose here whether to print a cover page, print with headers, issue first, transcript first, and so on. And the footers, you can change your footers in there. All transcripts or just the current transcript. A date range you could put in there as well. And click print, and then the results show up like this with a color code above that area indicating that you had highlighted this area with that particular issue code. Okay, so now what I wanted to show you, I'm going to go back into Trial Director, and I'm going to come down in here and go back to all the transcripts here in our codes. And we can see down here we have issue codes and annotations. And we click here, and we can see we have a number of items that have been coded previously in this area. And so when you wanted to go up here to File and Print, now we have our issue code area here, and we can say issue codes, print with a cover sheet, print with page headers. We could take those off, and we can say we can print the context, the surrounding Q&A pair, lines above and below, and all transcripts or the current transcript that we're using. We're just doing this current transcript, and then the issue code details. We'll do detailed, and we might make sure we pick that. And now up here, this was wanting to show you, instead of picking a printer, we're going to pick send to OneNote. And OneNote is that digital notebook that I discussed with you a little earlier that you probably inevitably have on your computer system if you've never used it. It can be a very handy tool to use in conjunction with a Trial Director itself. And I do have it installed, and I have created a OneNote notebook on this computer. I'm going to pick print, and now it's compiling the print out and ask me where I want to send it. So I have a number of tabs. I have a couple of different trial notebooks that I have created, as you can see here on this particular computer. And one of them is called Trial Director Notebook, and another sub-tab is called Issue Codes. So I'm going to pick that option and send the issue code that I want into that notebook. And now in my trial notebook that I have, I can see the issue code printout shows up here and gives me the same thing I would have gotten on paper. This is kind of handy, especially if you don't have a color printer and you do want to see the colors connected to the particular issues. Those will show up in your OneNote notebook. And then later, if you wanted to print out this particular page from your OneNote notebook, you could just print this out as well. Now you'll notice up at the top, I have another section here, PowerPoint with clips. Now, what I could do is bring that PowerPoint slideshow that I had created with the clips in it as a link inside of this particular notebook. So I could insert that particular PowerPoint right on this particular page of my notebook just by going out and then say insert a file printout or a file attachment. So I could go to file attachment, and then I could go out to my computer to find out where that particular PowerPoint is that I generated out of the trial director program, and come down in here and find it. It was clips 4, and insert that link. And I could do an attached file or a insert printout. I really want to do the attached file. So now in my notebook that I'm creating with data that I've exported out of trial director, I have a lot of possibilities. Exhibits to review, for example. I did this earlier. I had a bunch of exhibits that I wanted to share with somebody that didn't have trial director on their computer. I wanted to discuss this with them. So I exported the exhibits out of trial director. I actually printed the exhibits into OneNote, so that this OneNote notebook can be shared by multiple people on your internet or your web or your network, and they can open this up at any time and take a look at them. And then what they can do when they bring up like your exhibits to preview, they can insert a little comment. So you just click over here on the right, and they could actually start typing whatever comments they want to make right there next to that exhibit. And then they could email you and say, listen, I've updated my comments about that exhibit. Take a look, and they could go into this notebook and see the comments that were made about it. And then you could highlight these comments, right button click, and copy them, and you could go back into trial director, and for that particular issue, whatever it would be in your case library, let's say it would have been this one here, you could right button click on that particular exhibit. You could pick edit, and then you could go up in the description area, and you could right button click, and you could paste that comment that they made right into the description area of that particular idea. So it's a way of using trial director with another program you have on your computer, OneNote, and do some collaboration with folks that do not have trial director, do not have access to it, maybe because of license issues, maybe because they don't really know how to use it, but they do know how to use OneNote, or would be hard to use it. It's pretty straightforward program. Now the PowerPoint that I inserted as a link, I could then just double click on that link, and it will bring up the PowerPoint program, and then they could review the PowerPoint testimony and put in their comments as well in this particular program. Escape out of that. We've seen that, but you get the idea that OneNote is a really neat way of collaborating with data outside of trial director, but then getting the information from the collaborators back into the trial director program itself. So it's kind of a nifty way of going about that, and thought it would be good to show that to you as well. So if you want some more information about OneNote and how to integrate, I gave you the basics of it. But if you want to ask questions about that at the end of the session, if I don't get to them all, I'll be able to explore that with you in our Q&A area. But did want to show that to you because we oftentimes did this with the law firm that I work with, use OneNote in conjunction with trial director itself. I'm going to go back into the transcript manager again, and to go through that procedure about the the issue coding. So I've got quite a few issue codes in here already. And if I go ahead to an issue code area where there's an issue code already assigned, and I click, I can add another issue code to the same piece of text. So even though this one is coded as negligence, I could apply it and add that to that same piece of text in the manuscript. And you can see that there's a little blue that indicates that it's been added to that particular issue code as well in the transcript manager. And then also I looked over my notes about something I covered a little bit earlier that I wanted to go back to with regard to trial director and regarding the use of the case library and the coding of the various exhibits you have. So we're going to cover a little bit more of this as we go along, but I wanted to go to coding to show you the coding panel. And so right now you've got the ability to put a title in there, and you can see you've got various tags about privacy and confidentiality. And as we kind of cursor down through these, you can see there that each of these items doesn't really have something that possibly needs to have a title. Maybe you could type in authors and other items. And this information can come into you from other programs where you maybe have coded the information already. And when these documents are brought into Trial Director, this information will be populated automatically during the import process. So I'm going to go back to the case library. And when we are in the case library, we can go up to documents and importing the new items. And in the Q&A area, some of you have asked whether you could get data about the documents from a different database program into Trial Director, and that would have to do with the batch import procedure. So when we click there, it will come up and ask select a batch import file, and this is if you had an OLL file from a different Trial Director case, and you exported some of those documents into an OLL file. It will have all the coding you did for those documents under the coding tab down here for those documents, and bring them anew into this new case or an ancillary case where you need that same information. But you can also click on this pull-down menu and notice you have some other options. If you were using summation, summation will export their information and the documents to a DII file. And we did use summation imports, and they work quite well. An iPro load file has got an LFP file extension. Doculex usually exports to a delimited file, a text file that has that information in it. And sometimes it will have a DBF extension depending on the database you've used, and so on. Opticon has a log file. So these are different file formats. And then the newer version of Trial Director that is going to be coming out here in May, there are going to be other batch import options that will be available from some of the newer other types of databases that are available to you and that you might be using. So I'm keeping an eye on that, and I'll add information for you to the new about the new program when we get there. Let's see. I think, yeah, I wanted to cover this as well before I go on. Exporting exhibit lists. Let's see. We did this. There was another option here. Make sure I get the right one. Exporting. Let me go bring that back up again. Overview of Trial Director. Transcript clips. Yeah, this is the one I wanted to discuss with you here. I didn't have it open. Sorry about that. Okay, so in the transcript manager, wanted to cover a little bit of this finding information and using the codes as well. So in this PowerPoint, we're going to go into understanding the codes a little bit more. I'm not going to read all of this, but you can take a look at it later. But basically, it's a good way of getting that coding information into the the document library, so you can search for it. A little bit about issue coding. Many litigators use issue coding to help categorize the evidence in their cases, even if they don't refer to the process as issue coding. For example, sometimes the attorneys I work with might attach a sticky note, scribble a word or two in the margin of a transcript to remind me of the topic of the testimony and what it relates to. And then I would consider these to be issue codes in my work with a trial director. You may have several like file folders on your desk, each one of them which relates to a particular topic or element of proof or defense or witness. And as you come across documents and testimony that relate to any of these, you might copy the document or transcript page, toss it into one or more file folders, depending on your organizational system. Well, you can do this electronically then in Trial Director by color coding the excerpts of the testimony. And you can, of course, annotate the documents, and we'll get into that in a future session, and collecting documents and testimony excerpts into workbooks down below. So the coding that I'm talking about sometimes isn't referred to as issue coding, but maybe an attorney has put a little sticky note, like I said, and that reminds me that, wow, we'd like to be able to print out those sections of the testimony and look for those and get those maybe into PowerPoint or at least for a review. Finding items and transcript testimony. Before you really begin coding and using other methods to organize your case, it's helpful to understand the ways you can find items and specific transcript testimony. So we're going to take a look at that in a minute, but it's easy to locate items in the Case Explorer using the Find tool that I'm going to demonstrate to you. You can search for any of the following criteria. If you know what the item number is, for example, DEM 0002, or a description, like a brief shorthand title for the item to help you identify it quickly, you can search for that. An exhibit number is searchable, trial exhibit numbers, notes and memos that are in the summary field about the various documents. If the data is imported from summation, or you put it in yourself in the memo fields for the case, you can search for that as well. So here's how you go about it. There's a little binocular tool on the toolbar in the Case Explorer, or on the Document Manager, or you can click on the Edit menu and select Find. Those are the various ways you can get started doing a search in Trial Director. And in the Find dialog box, then you'd enter the word you want to look for and the other criteria for your search. It's not necessary to use wildcard characters. So searching for ANIM finds animation, finds animated, it finds animations, animals, etc. So you don't need to use wildcards to find all those particular categories. So you type in here what you want to look for. You can tell it to match case, and if you're at the top of your Case Explorer, you can say go down. If you're down at the bottom, you can say go up, and then you can search for a question and answer pair. You can search for page and line numbers, time codes, and other types of items that you might want to search for. And then you go ahead and type in something in the first line, and then you can go ahead and view all of the items at once. You can send results to a workbook. So after you do a search, you can send those results to a workbook, and you can find all to run the search. Search results workbook is automatically created in the Workbook Explorer down below, the section of the case library. And from there, you can view all the items located as a result of your search. Trial Director gives you several methods to locate testimony within transcripts. You can search the word list for each of the transcripts. You can also search within a single transcript for a word or a phrase, or search across multiple transcripts if you prefer. So you open a transcript in its word list, you click the Transcript Manager tab down below to display the transcript workspace. And then in the Transcript Explorer, you expand the transcript you wish to work with. Click on the little plus sign to the left of the transcript name. And then the following items may appear under the transcript. As you can see, ASCII, audio, video, one or more clips, and so on. And so you can double click on the ASCII transcript for the deponent's name, and the transcript opens on the desktop. And then to view the word list within the transcript, you open on the desktop. That you've opened on the desktop, you click on the View menu and select Word Index. And when you locate a word that interests you, you click on that word on the page line reference adjacent to the word to jump to that point in the transcript and the synchronized video if you have that connected. So here's an example when you've got a word list down below. The word said appears in these locations, saw appears here, and so on, schedule. So you see a word list that's been created by Trial Director in its indexing process of that particular transcript, and you can pick on these items to go to that location in the transcript. And Trial Director then takes you to that location, and then if it's a synchronized video, you can pick play, and it will play the transcript from that point on. Just click stop to stop the playing of the transcript. Then the issue codes, we've already done this, so I'm going to kind of skip over this section of this PowerPoint because I've kind of concatenated that into this location. It does remind you to avoid the dark colors, which I've told you a couple times. And then you can assign the issue codes to that part of the transcript that you have found, like we've discussed before. And the printing of the issue codes, we've covered that already. And the customizing, sending it to OneNote, I've talked to you about that. And this is another example of that. So we've covered that. So let's go back into a Trial Director again and go to the Transcript Manager. And then we can go up to the transcript that we're going to be searching for. And we can go to the binocular find the specified text option. And here's where we can type in something to find Smith. Take a look for that. And you'll come down into the transcript and find that location, find the next option. And there's Smith there. You continue to click through it to find Jim Smith. And then when you find a section, that you actually want to go ahead and play in the Transcript Manager, you can go ahead and play that from that section on. So wherever you're located at, you can pick the play option, and it'll bring up the transcript and play it for you. So presenting searching in your transcripts is this basic option here. And then if you have a question, find a beginning of the next question or the next answer. You can click down through there to find the next question that's being asked, and page and line numbers. So if you want to go to a certain page, you can type in the page and go to that particular page and line number. Time codes, if you know what the time code is, you can type it in there. And other Trial Director perform a simple search for special markers within the current transcript, beginning of a deposition multimedia. So it can, kind of go for that if you have any of those in there. That's the basics of searching through your transcripts. And then if you find you've got a clip You can click on these and play them once you have your clips. And then earlier we had talked about the clip editor, where you go in here and you can make sure that your start and end points are together. I'm not going to go over that again, but just a little update on that as well.